You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, we are thrilled to have you with us because it's a big night. It's December 7th, 2024. It's a Saturday, so it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt. With me tonight is Tipton Tribune, Elwood Call Leader Sports Editor Michelle Garmon. Tonight we are doing a girls scoreboard and a boys scoreboard, both live, and we're talking some basketball. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Greg. It's always a pleasure to be here.
We only had 4 local games tonight, but we had reports from 3 of them. Alexandria is 9-0 for the first time since 2002-03 after a 68-34 win over Frankton. I was there, spoke to both coaches and Alexandria senior Riley Kellums, and I'll have a report from that one. Oak Hill 48, Elwood 8. Oak Hill's now 2-0 in the CIC. We heard from Kevin Helfrich of the Action Sports Network. He covered that game. Mississinewa edged rival Eastbrook 44-38. We also heard from Eastbrook head coach Alicia Griffin following that game. And Sheridan is 5-1 overall and 2-0 in the Hoosier Heartland after a 58-18 win over Clinton Prairie. Couple of other games of interest. Hamilton Southeastern 62, Evansville Memorial 28. The second-ranked Royals are 8-0. And by the way, Evansville Memorial is a very good program. To beat them by almost 40 points, crazy. Greenfield Central is 6-2 after a 68-37 win over Tri. As I said, Michelle, I was at Frankton tonight to watch the 5th-ranked Alexandria Tigers beat Frankton 68-34. It wasn't that bad. It was not a 34-point game. The 2 JVs came in at the end of the game, and Alexandria's was much better and kind of poured it on at the end. 12-4 at the end of the first quarter. It was a little slow. Frankton seemed to have the Alexandria offense figured out. Once Alexandria got out and started running, they pulled away. It was 32-18 at halftime, and then Alexandria pulled away with a big third quarter. And if they're as good as they were in the third quarter tonight, Michelle, they're going to be as good as anybody in Class 2A. Jacqueline Hosier, of course, was the star. She scored 25 points, but it was really a team effort. She got everybody involved. Everybody on the team played well, particularly in the third and early in the fourth quarter when they took control. Lily Harp was fantastic. She scored 15 points.
Yes, Lily.
Avon McFall had 8. Riley Kellums had 7. And they had 7 points off the bench.
Yes, Lily Harp, the daughter of a former outstanding Tipton athlete, Greg Harp. So it's always nice when Lily does well. It's nice when any of them do well. But I just give a little shout out there too. So if people are listening from the podcast and around Tipton and they're not familiar with that, then they can kind of understand that Lily's probably pretty good because her dad was pretty good. Although I think her mom was a pretty decent athlete herself. So
it was a big night in a lot of ways for Alexandria. Mickey Hosier won his 100th game as a girls basketball coach tonight at Alexandria. And Alexandria took the traveling trophy for the first time in 20 years. They were very excited about that. They handed the trophy to Mickey Hosier, and he took it and walked off the court like it was no big deal. And the players were like, "What's going on?" And then he turned around and ran to him and yelled, and they all jumped on him, and it was fantastic.
Yeah,
they were very excited about this win. Not just that, their first CIC game. That's one of their big goals. Winning at Frankton has been very tough for that program over the years. Mickey said he has nightmares of playing at Frankton. Big game in a lot of ways. He was super happy with the win.
Yeah, big game. And, I'm going to guess that it was extra special to get that 100th win with his daughter as a member of that team. I'm sure it was a very nice and treasured memory made for both of them, for both Mickey and Jacqueline, and even, the whole entire Hosier family. Milestones are nice. They're really nice when you I think can share them like that. And Frankton has delivered some heartbreak to Alexandria. Mickey had probably his best team at Ellick girls wise before possibly this year. They had a lead late over Frankton in the sectional championship, and Frankton came back and beat them, like scored at the buzzer to beat them. And I know that was crushing and very heartbreaking to Alexandria. But I think Mickey's got this group really going. They're kids he has coached. They've been in his program for a long time, all 4 years. I know they don't have what you would say your traditional big or post players, but I think this team probably really fits the style that they want to run. They can get out and get up and down the court and let their defense become offense. And I think when you have a player like Jacqueline, I think that's good, because if you're doing that, I think it becomes harder to like double her, trap her, and take her away. So, kudos to them. And, I know they have a lot of goals. This is getting that traveling trophy was nice. Winning the conference would be even nicer. And I really do think, they're going to have a shot at I come January when they play Oak Hill, that should be a great game. And if the gym's not packed that night, then it better be, because that game's has been nasty weather that day, and they're just trying to get that game in. Otherwise, that gym should be packed, because I believe both Oak Hill and Ellick will go in there undefeated in conference play.
By the way, Mickey said he didn't care one bit about the 100th win. He was much more excited about the traveling trophy, the CIC win, and just picking up a win at Frankton.
Oh, yeah, that's the great thing. Mickey is very humble. Like most really good coaches, they're humble when they milestones. They're nice, but they're to be shared with the players or to be shared with the staff, the assistants, because really good coaches also know they're not there if they're not surrounded by good kids, good players, and a good staff.
And that's pretty much what he said. Here he is.
Could care less about my 100th win. It's part of just coaching for a while and having good players that you get to 100 win. But I just know how difficult it is to go over here, and not that it was a kind of a setup on us, but like we beat LaPel. They haven't played great lately. We've been being told how great we are. They've been, so it's just like I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and we just looked really choppy early and just nerves or whatever it was. But I try to tell our girls, like, just keep playing at our pace, keep putting pressure on them, and eventually the game will go the way that we want it to go. And I thought they looked tired at the end. We did too. But
I thought you wore them down is what happened.
But I tell them in our hut, I said, if we're tired, imagine what they are. Yeah, so just –
really good second half.
Yeah. I just think, again, like, we're used to playing a certain way, and we put a lot of pressure on them, and eventually, we're going to get some of those turnovers and runouts and easy shots, and I still didn't think it was clean. You hate saying that after a win like that.
Right.
Yeah, but just we didn't shoot it great, but I thought that we kind of came over in a tough environment and grinded it out, and then the game kind of got out of hand late.
Obviously, Jack was great, but it just looked like a cohesive unit tonight. It's the third time I've seen you, more tonight than any game that I've seen. Yeah. Especially in the third quarter.
Yeah. I thought they kind of put the tall girl on Jack and had somebody spying her, and then at some point Lily kind of took it upon herself. She's like the next one, and so she just put her head down, get to the basket. She made some. She got fouled. She made some good passes to our bigs. We finished some of those, and we didn't. And I thought Kylan and Riley and OJ and Jacqueline and Lily, who were seniors, and then Abby came in at the end. We had such a hard time beating this program for a while, and when this group of sophomores, we finally kind of got over the hump, and then this is our fifth straight win for our seniors, and so regardless of what Frankton is, they're still a good program, and they've been a good program, and so we know this is a big game for us and them, and we feel like we got one tonight.
Did you feel like you had some visions of what this team could be eventually down the road tonight?
I think we know that we're going to play a certain way. We're starting, Conley didn't have her best game tonight of the freshman, but I think she's starting to come. She's starting to feel more comfortable, especially defensively in our zones. And then, the one thing about Kylan's just been a three-point shooter, but she drove it a couple times, made shots, or drove in and made passes. And if she can do that for us, then it's not only going to help us as a team, it's going to help the way they have to play Jacqueline. I mean, they kind of leave people alone, but if you have Lily driving, Kylan making shots, then you got to play us a little more straight up, I think, which is good for us.
A few minutes after talking to Coach Hosier, I spoke with senior Riley Kellums about Coach Hosier's 100th win, getting the CIC victory, winning at Frankton, and taking the CIC traveling trophy on Friday night.
It's the seniors' last time here. It's the last time playing in this gym, playing against Frankton. I mean, more of it was Mickey's 100th win, but we haven't had the bell in 20 years. We haven't had it since I've been born. We haven't had it in so long, but we finally got the bell, and that's what we wanted to achieve tonight, and we did that.
In the third quarter, I thought you guys played really, really well. What was the difference between the first half and the third quarter?
I think the third quarter, we just had all of our nerves out. We were ready to play. We were ready to attack, and it's just more of, we were just like, okay, we're fine. We can start doing what we know how to do.
All right, Michelle, if Alexandria can get production from, let's just say, the others, and I hate to say that because they're pretty good basketball players too, Daisy Bivens and Avon McFall and Lily Harp, Riley Kellums, very good players in their own right, but of course they get overshadowed by Jack Hosier, who's, by the way, at times tonight looked like a Harlem Globetrotter out there. Just her skill set is, every time I see her, I'm more and more impressed by it. And again, I mentioned this a lot in these interviews, the third quarter, if they play like that, they are just going to be tough to beat. I talked to Riley Kellums about tonight's win, and again, that big third quarter. For Frankton, they were led by 13 points from Emma Key, 6 points from Lainey Hamaker, but offense was hard to come by tonight. They did play very well defensively in the first half. Again, the third quarter, things got away from them a little bit, the fourth quarter, but, I wouldn't say disappointed is the right word, but Frankton coach Jeff Bates knows there's more from this team.
Yeah, Frankton, they've got to find consistency, because if they don't find consistency, it's going to be a struggle all year. They seem to play well in big rivalry games, but then they, not so well in some other games that you would expect them to play better. Maybe not necessarily win, but just to play better, whether it's shoot better, take better care of the basketball. So yeah, I mean, that's for Frankton. Their biggest thing, I think, is they just have to find consistency from game to game.
And here is Coach Jeff Bates talking about his team's performance on Friday night. All right, Coach, how did you feel about tonight's performance?
Well, we got some work to do, obviously. I felt at times we were poised and did what we wanted to do. We didn't shoot very well. We didn't get the ball into areas that we needed to get it into. And then we started making some turnovers, and one thing compounded to another.
It seemed like Alexandria had a lot to do with that too. That the defense is so good. They looked really smooth in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, they play quick, they play hard. They get after you and they don't let up, and it creates problems.
Frankton is off until Tuesday when they play Daleville. I would guess. Well, they go to Daleville. I was going to say, I'd guess they'll go to 5-5, but if the right Frankton team shows up, they go to 5-5. But Daleville's not bad, and at home, they've got a couple of really good athletes. That could be a good one.
It could be, and there again, consistency. Which Frankton team shows up? If it's the Frankton team that showed up against LaPel, and the Frankton team that showed up for 3 out of 4 quarters against Alexandria, granted the third quarter for Alec was
the first half at least.
Yes,
yeah.
The first half. Then they win. And it's really that simple. If that's the team that shows up, they win. If it's the team that played, against Shenandoah, was it Muncie or Monroe Central? One of those, and then that game could be a loss. Frankton, here's the thing. Last year, they had two seniors in Emma Sperry and the Collins girl, the Maya Collins, that, they could carry, teams a little bit. And the inconsistent, they were consistent every night. And then you added the third as Emma Key came along, as the season progressed. And had they not been in Class 3A, they would have been a sectional challenger.
Well, Alexandria is going to be 13-0 when they go to the holiday tournament in Richmond, which will provide some really stiff competition. You've got Marion, Connorsville, Ben Davis, Charlestown is a very good team. So they'll get some challenge there. But coming up in the next games, they've got Taylor tomorrow, at Blackford next week, Westdell at home, Eastbrook at home. So there's no doubt they are going into that tournament.
They definitely should be. And I will never say there's no doubt because
Right.
you never know. Because if an illness comes, if
Right.
they would get really ill and sideline Jack. Although I would think if it's Jacqueline and Lily Harp and Riley Kellums, the type of athletes and competitors they are, I really think they'd have to be to where they just couldn't get out of bed.
And then they've got the Madison County tournament, which of course will provide some very good competition for them in Pendleton.
Right. That Richmond tournament is fabulous because it's going to come before the county tournament. And then they get the county tournament. And that's really good too because I think then, am I not right? Oak Hill is really the only big challenge they have after the Madison County tournament before the sectional comes?
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's, so that will be huge. Those two tournaments will be good preparation for them when they play Oak Hill and then leading into the girls sectional.
They finished with 4 CIC games: Elwood at home, at Mississinewa, at Oak Hill, and then Madison-Grant at home.
Yeah.
So,
and then for them, their sectional got easier. Sectional 40 got easier because when Frankton dropped back down to 3A, from 3A to 2A, they moved them to 39, and they took Lapel also out of Sectional 40, moved them to 39, and then they took Madison-Grant, I think Blackford, and took them from 39 into 40. So, for Mickey, this is great, but that competition is going to be good too because, say everything goes right in that sectional, and they win a regional. They win that sectional. The regional, of course, the draw. That's going to be a very tough regional.
I don't want to look this far ahead, but I don't see a single team in their sectional that could possibly beat them.
I don't.
Wapahani
either.
is 6-1, and they're pretty good, but I just don't think they're on the same level.
That's why. I think the restructuring just worked out fantastic.
The other 4 teams in their sectional would have very little chance: Eastbrook, Muncie Burris, Madison-Grant, Blackford. Right. So. All right, speaking of which, we go to Elwood, where Oak Hill beat Elwood 48-8, just Elwood's second loss of the season. What an impressive performance by Oak Hill, which is now 7-1 overall and 2-0 in the CIC. They've also had beaten Madison-Grant. Earlier tonight, we spoke with Kevin Helfrich of the Action Sports Network, and he had details from the game.
And Oak Hill won this one 48-8, and the game was really never in doubt as Oak Hill jumped out to a 13-1 lead after the opening quarter, and they just had tremendous balance all night long. They have a very pesky backcourt that puts a lot of pressure on the ball, especially in the half court. And they were led tonight by junior Lydia Trexler. She had 10 points for the Golden Eagles, and then they had 8 players score in this contest. And Alexa Myers was next with 9, and then followed by Landry Hardman, a sophomore guard, poured in 8 points and had several assists and steals. And then, they round that out with Lily Edwards, who had 6 points as well. So just an overall balanced attack from Oak Hill tonight. Unfortunately for the Panthers, they turned the ball over 13 times in the first half and did a much better job in the second half, but it was a little bit too late, and they just couldn't get anything to go in all night long. They missed their first 22 shots, and the only bucket they got on the night came from Breedlin Norris, and that didn't come until the opening minutes of the fourth quarter. So just an unfortunate night for Elwood, not something we'd seen all season out of this squad. The good thing about this is. They get a bounce back tomorrow and try to right the ship against Eastbrook on the road in another Central Indiana Conference matchup. While Oak Hill will turn the page and look at Western tomorrow at home for an evening game there. And so Oak Hill improves to 7-1 on the season, 2-0 in the CIC, and definitely one of the early favorites along with Alexandria to maybe perhaps claim the conference title when the season ends. And those two teams will meet the next to last game of the season for Oak Hill on January 25th at Oak Hill. So, I know that's a game in the far future, but that could be a preview of a championship game there.
Well, I
on
actually
that
think
night.
that'll probably be I am the personal opinion, that will be for the conference championship.
Yeah, I think so too.
I believe both of those teams are going to go into that game undefeated in the conference.
I don't know who else it would be.
Yeah, no, I've seen Eastbrook, Mississinewa, Oak Hill now, Elwood, Madison-Grant. I've seen everybody but Frankton now, I think, and Alexandria. And I know Alexandria is a really good team. And Oak Hill is just seems like they've continued to get better from last year, even though this is a team that's got a lot of different girls that can hurt you, and their guards are tremendous. They penetrate. They don't give you much room to do much on the offensive end. And so they play hard. They've got a lot of height as well. And I think, with Trexler and coming off the bench, they had Daly, and they also had Morgan Cates coming off the bench. So they could throw a lot of size at you and hurt you in a lot of different ways. And this is a team that I think is going to continue to get better as the season goes on. And for Elwood, they've had a tremendous season already. I mean, they more than doubled their wins from a year ago. Their future is bright. They've got a very young basketball team. So this was just a rough night for the Panthers.
Yeah, but when you look at Elwood and everything, you said they missed their first 22 shots. Were they good looks, or was it just
it was tough to get
I'm going to throw it up?
Yeah, it was tough to get a good look tonight against Oak Hill. I'll say there just was not much opening for them. And when they did get a good shot, they just weren't falling. But they were little rush shots tonight by them, no doubt. But that was a lot to do with Oak Hill's defense. It wasn't that the Panthers had wide open looks all night long. They were being challenged most of the night, and unfortunately for them, they weren't able to hit tough shots, and they weren't able to hit any open shots when they did get them. And the one area they did do a good job tonight was they shot 8 free throws and they made 6 of them. So they shot 75% from the foul line, which any coach at high school level, that's a pretty good percentage you'll take. You want to shoot probably over 80%, but 75% tonight when nothing else is going in has to be the one bright thing that they can take from this evening.
Now, the one thing too, I'm going to guess with Oak Hill's size and everything, they were able to keep Salee off the offensive glass.
Yeah, well, she was able to get 4 offensive rebounds, and she finished the night with 8 rebounds total, and that's what she does. But she just wasn't able to get really any good looks if she did get the rebound. I mean, Oak Hill was there to contest every shot, and they were blocking shots tonight, and they just made it difficult all night long. And Norris really, she had an off night shooting the basketball uncharacteristically for her. It was tough for her to get any kind of scoring going as well. But, she did lead the Panthers like she usually does. She had 7 of the 8 points. She was able to knock down 5 of 6 from the free throw line. But, it just was it was Elwood, wasn't turning the ball over, every possession. In fact, Oak Hill struggled the first 4.5 minutes. This was a game where nobody had scored until a banked in 3 by Alexa Myers, and it was intended to be a pass to an inside player. And so that kind of got the ball rolling for Oak Hill. That went down, and then Oak Hill on the night, they actually hit 21 of 34 shots from the floor, so they were very efficient there as well. And they have just several different players that can score. They don't really have a superstar, I would say, who can score, light you up for 20 or 30 a night, but they got so many weapons that you just never know where the point's going to come from.
Yeah, very impressive, I would think. I wasn't there, but very impressive defensive performance by Oak Hill, because we know Elwood is not a bad team.
No, they're not a bad team. They aren't quite necessarily as good as their record either, because
of course,
they
yes.
adjusted that record so they could. I mean, their schedule so they could find early success.
No doubt.
But yeah, it's if you are Coach Licklider, you're probably a little disappointed because it's almost like, because we talked about this ahead of when I saw him play 2 years ago. And Oak Hill just kind of dominated, pick and rolled them to death and everything. And for her, it was probably almost took her back and almost like a nightmare to 2 years ago. And I know she was hoping and had thought that her team had, gotten better than that. I just think Oak Hill, that pressure defense, if a team can apply pressure to Elwood, the Panthers are going to struggle a little bit because right now they have only one guard that can handle the pressure, and and they still, I don't know that they're still, their basketball IQs are still high enough, or they're
Definitely in
savvy enough
development.
to
They are
be able to
definitely in
pass
development.
press break. So yeah, they're still developing. So, the good thing is they get to go to Eastbrook tonight, and hopefully they put a much better showing in that game. And I think it's very possible they can win that game. I think it will be. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a close game. And if Elwood can come back and get that win, I think then it really helps them because then they go to Tipton on Tuesday. It's a Tipton team that's feeling pretty good about themselves after beating Taylor, but it's a Tipton team, I believe, that plays LaPel tomorrow afternoon. So it's it'll be interesting. So
And then after Tipton, they go to Madison-Grant, another winnable game. Blackford at home, another winnable game. Then they play Anderson Prep in the Madison County Tournament, another winnable game. So, and Burris after that. So they have some definite win possibilities coming up. Also, West Dell is on their schedule. So, like we said, this is a team, even after, sorry, dropped the microphone, even after tonight's setback, there are definitely win possibilities in the future. Oak Hill, on the other hand, they looked fantastic. They host Western today, should win that one. Go to Mechaniqua, host Mississinewa on December 14th. Speaking of which, Mississinewa opened their CIC schedule with a 44-38 win over Eastbrook. Eastbrook actually held J.C. Crick to 10 points. She only took 6 field goal attempts, so clearly they were focused on her. Junior Brooklyn Nash added 9. Senior Avery Wilson scored 9. And junior Charlie Ballage 8 for a very balanced Mississinewa team. Eastbrook is 2-5 now, 0-1 in the CIC. Of course, they are the defending co-champions, but lost most of their roster and their head coach. Senior forward A.J. Brenner scored 19 of their 38 points. She was 4 for 4 from behind the 3-point line.
wow, that's good. That's
Kept them
a
in
nice
that game.
number. Yes.
Yeah. And we spoke with Eastbrook head coach Alicia Griffin. We really appreciate how much she's done for us, and we appreciate the coaches who like to promote their teams. And
We do.
She is definitely passionate about that.
And not only promote their teams, but are willing to talk to us whether they win or lose.
Yes, and we've had a lot of those coaches, and we always appreciate that. Well, Coach, tell us about the game tonight. Tough loss against Mississinewa.
Yeah, we definitely had a tough loss, but I don't think I've ever felt more proud of my girls coming off of a loss as I did tonight. We were shorthanded tonight, missing our point guard and our post player and our only returning varsity player from last year. She's battling an injury from our game on Wednesday. So the fact that we kept it close all game and we had some underclassmen and some freshmen really step up and play big minutes is huge for us. And I just couldn't be prouder.
Um, how is your team dealing with going from winning last year to taking some losses, having a new coach? What's it been like in transition with your kids and their attitudes toward basketball?
You know, you would think that it would be really hard, but I think the girls knew that this year was going to be a season of growth, and we had pretty much our whole team stepping into spots that they've never been in before. And so it's been a learning process and a trust process with not only, the girls and each other, but the girls and the coaching staff, and especially since we're all new. And but I think spirits are high. The girls were excited how the game was today, even though it was a loss. And we're starting to see some progress and some growth offensively and defensively, and making transitions to playing, varsity level basketball.
Being shorthanded like you were tonight, and then having to turn around and come back tomorrow and take on Elwood. How do you see that game, and how do you see possible fatigue, especially since you had a close battle tonight, fatigue factoring in.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit nervous about that tomorrow going into the game. It was a very physical game tonight, along with the fact that, it was close and we had to grit out some stuff. And uh, we, I guess I'm more worried about the mental fatigue rather than the physical fatigue. Like, we know our legs are going to be a little bit tired, but tonight was a mentally draining game for the girls, and we switched defenses a lot, and we had to think on the fly and change up some offensive schemes too. So just the mental fatigue coming off of tonight and coming back and ready to focus on a different game plan with a whole different type of team.
What concerns you most about Elwood? Of course, I know. Then you only get to really prepare your team tomorrow. I mean, and it's got to be tough to have back-to-back CIC games.
No, for sure. But they're also coming off of a game from tonight, and so hopefully we're all in the same boat. We're staying up a little bit late tonight, starting to watch game film because I haven't really seen them a whole lot. Just going based off of some things from last year and some personnel things from last year, and because they have pretty much everybody back, and so just looking through that, and then starting a whole new game plan for tomorrow. 3 games in 4 days has been rough when it comes to putting together what we want to do.
Yeah, it's tough to game plan for sure. Thank you, Coach, so much for your time. We always appreciate it, and good luck tomorrow.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
And in our final game from Friday night, Sheridan beat Clinton Prairie 58-18. They look like the favorites in the Hoosier Heritage Conference, although
Hoosier Heartland.
I even have it written down here, Michelle. Hoosier Heartland Conference, although Rossville is 3-0. Sheridan will go to Rossville on December 20th, a game that looks like it's going to determine the conference championship. Clinton Prairie is now 3-4, 1-3 in the conference. Sheridan led 32-9 at halftime after a 16-2 second quarter. Kenzie Garner, 28 points, 6 steals, 5 rebounds. Senior Max Smith added 9 points, 7 rebounds. Sophomore Brielle Garner, 8 points. And senior Nova Cross, another balanced game like she did all through volleyball season 2. 5 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds.
And I know Ross, and I'm sure you're aware that Jennifer Jacoby is the coach at her alma mater.
Ooh,
but
one of my all-time favorites.
I like Jennifer, and I've always gotten along really well. But they're not anywhere close to Sheridan's level, and Sheridan's just so impressive to me right now. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and in my mind, they are the clear-cut favorite in sectional 39, like Alexandria is the clear-cut favorite in sectional 40.
Looks like they're on a collision course.
Yes, and I know people say lapel, but unless lapel really makes a lot of strides from here to there, Sheridan they have much more balance. They know their roles very well. Consistency from the production across the board, and Jadlyn coaching has done an outstanding job there. Her and her staff. It's been fun. It's been fun to watch that program, to see what she's done with that program.
I said December 20th. That game's December 12th. That's actually Sheridan's next game is at Rossville. So that'll be a big one. Then they host Tri-West and Tipton. Then Eastern. So 3 straight games to end actually 5 straight games to end the calendar year at home for Sheridan, because then on the 27th they host a 4-game Sheridan tournament. So looks like it's going to be a good rest of 2024 for Sheridan, and then things get a little tougher. By the way, they play LaPel at home on January 14th, so that'll give us more of an indication of where they are. Let's go real fast, Michelle, through Saturday's games. 1-6 Blackford at 1-6 Madison-Grant. We talked to Grant Shouse about this one. He's going to be covering that for the Action Sports Network. We'll get to that real fast. The Sagarin rating says Madison-Grant by 2 points. Should be a very competitive game.
Yes, should be a very competitive game.
And here is Grant Shouse with his preview of Blackford at Madison-Grant. By the way, the game is at 2:30 in the afternoon. Welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Once again, Grant Shouse of the Action Sports Network. Grant is going to have Blackford at Madison-Grant tomorrow afternoon. Girls, should be a really interesting game. I don't think it's one of those games I'm not sure who's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. It's not one of those games that, it's the premier matchup in the area. It's not, number one versus number two. It's not one of those. But you're right. It should be interesting. Madison-Grant 1-6. They're riding a 5-game losing streak coming into this one after beating Westdale 54-16. And tomorrow is really going to be one of their best opportunities for a long, long time on their schedule to get a win. And they're very capable of getting a win. This is the Madison-Grant team that has athletes. They really do. They share a lot of athletes with, other sports, volleyball, softball, which have, proven success.
Yes.
In their respective sports. But girls basketball has kind of been behind a little bit, but they have good athletes that they can be good. And, I don't think their schedule has really helped them out a whole lot. I think this I hate to say it, but I think this 1-6 record could be a tad bit deceiving. They've gotten blown out in every game since that Westdale game, minus the Cowan game, and a game that they controlled a lot of, and Cowan ran away with. I did the game. I mean,
since they lost Jasmine Rainey for 3 games, she's really the player who controls their offense. They're kind of lost without her. So now that she's back,
that's good.
I think she played fairly well in the last game. First game back, but I expect her to have a big game tomorrow. Man, nobody plays harder than she does.
Yeah, and like you said, she has the most experience, I think, out of any other girl on that team. Jace Martin's awesome. Just an awesome dude to talk to.
The best.
Awesome guy to be around. And, like we were talking about it off the air about these coaches and ADs. He's not the AD, but, you talk about these coaches and things that when you need something, you will get it. He will get it to you. He's absolutely awesome. He played for my dad when my dad was coaching at Oak Hill. So, they these other coaches know what he's capable of. He knows the game. He does a really good job. Yeah, I mean, he's 18-35 in his 3rd year as a head coach, and they're making strides. They're getting better, and I think one of his biggest things is he wants these girls to have fun.
He's a great teacher, and great guy.
And Madison-Grant 1-6, getting Jasmine Rainey back will no question help them out. As for Blackford, they're 1-6 too. But man, you look at the teams they've played. Lost to Kokomo, lost to Fort Wayne, lost to South Adams, Muncie Central. Bluffton's a great team as well.
Yes.
Adams Central is that's not a good loss for them. Adams Central is 1-7. That's their lone win. Blackford lost 49-23. But Blackford, I don't know much about them. I know they had 2 twins inside, last name Morris. Last year, I don't remember if they graduated. Something tells me they did.
Yes.
It's a Blackford. Yes. This is a Blackford team that last year took Eastbrook to the sectional championship, lost in 4 overtimes.
They lost their entire roster from last year. They have no seniors this year.
Okay.
So we're talking about a program that restarted, much like Eastbrook. Both new coaches, very similar, kind of both CIC champions lost their entire rosters from last year and rebounding. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of development they go through as well. All right, Michelle, I usually do full previews of these games, but I didn't have time. I messed up my schedule this week. Next week we will be back on schedule, and we will have on Friday nights full previews of the games. It'll probably be without you. I'll probably get that done before. Although some games we won't know until Friday night, but that's rare with girls basketball. So here we go. 6-2 Elwood is at 2-4 Eastbrook at 6:30. Elwood is 0-1 in the conference. Eastbrook is 0-1 in the conference after both teams lost on Friday night in their conference openers. The Sagarin rating says Eastbrook by 10. I guess I should have you guess these.
Eastbrook by 10.
At Eastbrook.
I know it's at Eastbrook. I don't know. I guess it could be 10. If Elwood can't shoot the ball well, I would say that maybe could. I think it's going to be closer than that because as we heard from the Eastbrook coach,
Alicia Griffin, yeah.
Yes, Coach Griffin, that her team is battling shorthanded. They're, injury, illness, things like that. So
the computers definitely don't take that into
no,
consideration.
and a lot of times they don't even know that
Right.
that's going on. So
Yeah.
I expect a closer game unless Elwood just doesn't, with young kids, if they just
Yeah.
aren't able to put away Friday night's game and
Like we said,
hit
they're a work
Saturday.
in progress.
Yes,
But again, I want to say that Courtney Licklider's done a great job, and that
She
program has definitely turned a corner. Not the corner, but a corner.
yes.
3-3 University is at 4-5 Lapel at 7:30. The Sagarin rating has Lapel favored by 4, which is the exact home court advantage. So it looks like those teams are pretty even. University, of course, has been a 2A power through the years. They were 0-3. They're now 3-3. So pretty good team. Another good challenge for Lapel. We talk about schedules paying off in the end. If Lapel is going to beat Sheridan, it'll probably be that they play a lot better schedule than Sheridan. 2-3 Western is at 6-1 Oak Hill. The Sagarin rating, got a guess?
Oak Hill by 15?
19. 4-2 Yorktown is at 1-6 Burris. The Sagarin rating says Yorktown by 40. 0-7 Anderson is at Lafayette Harrison. They are 2-5 at 2:30 on Saturday afternoon. The Sagarin rating says Harrison by 12. 4-3 Marion at 7-1 Carroll at 7:30. You got a guess on that one?
Carroll by 5?
Carroll by 12. That surprised me a little. I thought it would be a lot closer than that. 0-8 Hamilton Heights is at 3-3. Connorsville at 1:30 in the afternoon. The Sagarin rating has Connorsville by 33. 7-2 Mount Vernon at 4-4 Pendleton Heights in a very good Hoosier
Heritage
game at 1:30 in the afternoon. All right, I'm going to let you guess on this one.
Mount Vernon.
Pendleton Heights by 11.
Oh.
I think it's a not great Mount Vernon team. Okay, 5-2 New Pal at 5-3 Delta at 1 o'clock, and another big Hoosier Heritage game. Guess on that one? You are wrong. It is dead even. It was fractions of a point, so that should be a great one. 8-0 Alexander is at 2-7 Taylor, and that Sagarin rating
Alexandria by landslide.
78. And 2-4 Northwestern is at 4-2 Whitco at 7:30. The Sagarin rating says Whitco by 25. And by the way, Michelle, the Tipton Lapel game is next Saturday. So
Sorry about that. I was thinking it was usually like the first Saturday in December, so my bad.
Tipton's next game is at home Tuesday against rival Elwood. Thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us tonight. Thank you to Frankton head coach Jeff Bates, Alexandria head coach Mickey Hosier, Alexandria senior Riley Kellums, and to the Action Sports Network, Kevin Helfrich, and to Eastbrook head coach Alicia Griffin for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. We always appreciate that, but thank you most of all to you for listening. Please go like, subscribe, or follow us right now. Do it this very minute. And if you wouldn't mind, please tell a friend.
There you go. It's definitely worth a listen.
The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media.
And Greg loves Susie, and so do I.